Hey guys, I'm Anastasia Darrow. I also did my diverse field experience at the Bloomington Area Career Center. So you guys are going to hear a little bit of what I have to say again, so sorry for that in advance. Um, First, I'll talk a little bit about the expectations I had when we were given this assignment. I was a little bit nervous about it. I wasn't really sure like what to expect or what was going to be expected of me. Um, in when I was in this school, whichever or wherever I chose to go. Um, so I was definitely thinking a lot about that. I was thinking it was going to be really similar to like the high school that I went to. The high school I went to meets all the requirements for being a diverse school to observe in and everything. So that's kind of what I was expecting. But yeah, so I couldn't decide where I wanted to do my hours at. So when Sarge came in and kind of told us a little bit about the BACC and what it was all about, I was super intrigued. I was like, this is definitely different than a normal high school setting. So I want to check it out. I want to see what it's all about. So so he took me, or we set up an interview or a tour or whatever. So we talked about, he showed me around the school and he showed me all the classes and kind of told me a little bit about what each class did. So when he did that, I was even more excited. I was like, wow, this is definitely going to be something that I'm going to learn from. So I'll tell you a little bit about the BACC. Again, you guys have heard this already. Their mission statement is the Bloomington Area Career Center is to help educate students to acquire the knowledge, attitudes, and skills necessary to become healthy, happy, and productive adults in their chosen career. Become enthusiastic lifelong learners who are able to manage, change, and perpetuate and improve the democratic process which has an impact on their communities, their country, and their world. So you could see just from their mission statement that they're definitely focused on making sure that these kids like have the skills and everything that they need to succeed, whether it's in college or if they go straight to a career afterwards. So that's definitely good to know that they're like focused so much on these kids' future. So when I was talking to Sarge, I told him that I was a Spanish ed major, and obviously, like they don't offer Spanish classes, so it's not something I could have observed. But he did try and get me into the classes that have the most Spanish speakers in there, so I thought that was really cool. But yeah, I didn't really get a chance to interact with a lot of the kids. But the classes that I observed in, let's see, were automotive technology with Mr. Kindle, health occupations with Miss Wingate, culinary with Miss Benz, and then EMT basic with Mr. Zapar, health occupations again but with Miss Tuma, and criminal justice with Mr. Patton. Let's see. In the automotive tech class, like I got a lot of classes where they were just reviewing or taking tests, but in the automotive tech class, Mr. Kindle just showed a PowerPoint. They took a break, and then when we came back from the break, he told me to tell them a little bit about how important note taking in college was, and then he let them ask me questions like I don't know about whatever they wanted to ask. Some of them were kind of awkward, like if I went to the bars and I just answered a different question after that. But the next class that I observed in was the health occupations class, which they just did note packets. So they kind of talked about everything. This was review for them, so they just went through a note packet and reviewed. And then one thing I thought was funny is that they were all signed up, this class and the other health occupations class, were all signed up to do a walk for breast cancer, which is obviously a great thing. But whoever set it up didn't realize that it was in Bloomington, Indiana. So they weren't able to go, but they did raise a little bit of money for it, so I thought that was really cool. And they also had the digital arts class, I think it was, set them up with some t-shirts and everything. So it was sad that they didn't get to go, but it was awesome that they were intending on going. The next class I observed in was culinary with Miss Benz. She kind of split her class up into halves. So the first one was working on a measuring exercise. The second one was just doing a packet about different items in the kitchen, and then also just measurement exercises. And they also got a lecture about keeping their area clean after they use it. I know one of the other girls said that their class also did. It was really awkward for me too. Um, let's see. There was the EMT basic next, and like one of the other girls said, they have two different teachers, so that whole class is super laid back. I feel like, I'm not sure if it's based on the teacher or what, but I definitely had that feeling where the kids felt like they were totally able to talk to him, get his experiences, talk to him about, what he would do in certain situations, and all of that. So it was definitely nice to see that there's such an open flow of communication. Um, and they also they had a makeup class. So anybody who was missing assignments worked on those, and anybody who wanted to review for their test, I don't know if it was the next day or if it was the following week, but that's what they did if they were all caught up. The next health occupations class I observed in with Miss Tuma, they took a test. So they tested for the first, I think, hour that I was there, and then they took a break, and then they came back, and for the rest of the class we watched ER. So I mean, that was definitely, it was fun for me because I love that show, but yeah, the first part was definitely, I didn't really get a good feel for the class, but and then the last class I observed was criminal justice, and that was with Mr. Patton, and that the whole day they were also reviewing for their, I think it was a midterm, and he had a review packet, and they just kind of went down, they jumped around, and each kid would answer a different question. I mean, it was definitely an interesting way to do it. He was offering extra credit, but yeah, it was just a review. I couldn't really get a good feel for the class or for the students in the class. They were all respectful though, so that was always good. It was at the BACC. It was definitely different than I expected. I was expecting there to be a little bit more diversity as far as the students in the class. I mean, the easiest way to determine is by their race, but it seemed like in all the classes there was a pretty equal amount of one race or one sex. Like in the automotive tech class, there was all males, and they were all white males, except for I think one was a Latino. But and that was pretty standard throughout the classes. I know in both of the health occupations classes they were all females. The race wasn't very diverse. It was predominantly white in most of the classes. So that really shocked me. I was expecting a little bit more. Again, I was just thinking back to my high school, which, I mean, that's the only thing I can really base it off of. So it was definitely a little bit different. But I did learn that I probably wouldn't fit in best at a career center because, well, one, because my major doesn't really fit in there as a Spanish ed teacher, but I do think that I would want to work in a diverse setting, absolutely, because that's kind of where I grew up. I grew up in a very diverse neighborhood and a very diverse school, so that's where I feel the most comfortable, and I feel like I could relate to the kids in the school because that's all I know. So, but yeah, I mean, I would definitely go back to the BACC to keep checking them out, keep doing observations and everything, and getting to know the staff there. They're all really great. And that was it. So I guess now I'll just answer any questions if you have them. Thanks.